10 years. A full decade, and I still couldn't get her face out of my head. Eleanor Vance. Even now, the name felt like a secret I'd been keeping. She was gentle, graceful, and came from the kind of family that had their name on library wings and hospital annexes. Back then, the Vances practically owned our town of Crestwood Hills. Just being in the same class as her felt like I'd won some cosmic lottery. Dreaming of anything more was pure fantasy. If it weren't for the tragedy that shattered our senior year and the diary I ended up with by some twist of fate, I would have gone to my grave never knowing she'd felt something for me too. But it was too late. 10 years ago today, a wanted fugitive broke into the Vance estate and murdered her and her parents. All I had left was a leather-bound journal filled with words that felt like a consolation prize from a cruel universe. Even now, a decade later, with a steady job and my family constantly trying to set me up on dates, the regret was a physical weight in my chest. If only I'd been braver. If I just told her how I felt, would anything have been different? I pulled out my iPhone, my thumb hovering over the Messages app before tapping it open. There was our chat history frozen in time. A single, pathetic exchange from 10 years ago. Me. Hey, it's Ethan Reed. Eleanor Vance. Thanks again for helping me and Chloe the other day. Smiling face with smiling eyes. That was it. 3 years of a silent, all-consuming crush distilled into 2 blue bubbles. The memories flooded back, hazy with the ache of unspoken feelings. I twisted the cap off another beer, the bitterness doing nothing to quell the surge of emotion. My fingers flew across the keyboard, typing the words I should have sent a lifetime ago. Me. I'm in love with you. Will you be my girlfriend? I hit send, a self-mocking laugh catching in my throat. What was I even expecting? For the universe to grant me a do-over? For the 18-year-old me to wake up and finally get a clue? Then, the 3 dots appeared. Bouncing. Typing. Eleanor Vance. Eleanor Vance. Ethan, what are you talking about? Are you running a fever? We have finals coming up. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. My blood ran cold. Impossible. The Eleanor I loved had been dead for 10 years. Who was this? Some sick prank? Was her number reassigned and someone was messing with me? 1,000 frantic thoughts crashed through my mind. Eleanor Vance. Hello? Ethan? Why would you send something like that out of the blue? My hands trembled as I typed. Me, who is this? This isn't funny. Eleanor Vance. Angry face Eleanor Vance. Did you send that to the wrong person? Were you trying to text Ashley Hayes from junior class? Eleanor Vance. Look, I'm telling you, this is Eleanor Vance. Don't mess this up. Besides, you shouldn't be thinking about dating right now. Not with college applications on the line. My mind raced. Me. If you're Eleanor, prove it. Eleanor Vance. Why should I have to prove who I am? You're the one sending me crazy texts in the middle of the night. Eleanor Vance. If you're stressed or something, you can talk to me. But I'm serious. Now is not the time to get a girlfriend. Eleanor Vance. Who are you trying to send that to? Really? Eleanor Vance. You can tell me. I won't tell anyone. I stared at the screen, reading and rereading her messages. The tone. It was so her. The earnestness, the slight bossiness, the genuine concern. It was a perfect imitation. I was almost certain, but a sliver of suspicion remained. It had to be a scam. But what could a scammer possibly get from me? I was just a regular guy with a 9-to-5. I wasn't going to send money or give out my passwords. There was nothing to gain. But what if? What if this was real? What if, like in some old sci-fi story, I had actually connected with her? Clinging to that 1 in a million, insane possibility, I typed again. Me. If you're really Eleanor, can you answer one question for me? Eleanor Vance. Ethan, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you studying? Of course I'm Eleanor. Me. I just need to know one thing. Have you always had a crush on me? There was a pause. Then a voice memo popped up. I pressed play. Voice memo. WH, what are you talking about? How could I possibly like you? It was her. The voice was hers, laced with a nervous, flustered energy I remembered so well. Even after a decade, that sweet, melodic sound was etched into my memory. There was no doubt. The person on the other end of this conversation was Eleanor Vance. But how? The question hung in the air, but I shoved it aside. The science didn't matter. All that mattered was this miracle, this impossible moment. I had to tell her everything I'd held inside for 10 years. Voice memo, Eleanor, I read your diary. I know you like me. And what I need you to know, right now, is that I like you too. I'm crazy about you. I have been since the first day of freshman year, the first time I saw you standing in front of the class. It was true. The moment she introduced herself, I was a goner. It was textbook love at first sight. But her family, her grades, the world she lived in, it all felt so far above me. So I buried it. I convinced myself she had a boyfriend, and that was that. I was going to confess everything after graduation, a final, cathartic goodbye to my unrequited love, and then move on. But instead of goodbye, I got the news of the murders. And for 10 years, I hadn't been able to move on at all. 10 agonizing minutes passed with no reply. I was about to send another message when her text came through. Eleanor Vance, how could you have seen my diary? And Ethan, your voice sounds weird. Are you sure you're not sick? Or having some kind of crazy dream? She wasn't using voice memos anymore. I could picture her perfectly. A teenager in her bedroom, blushing, typing, and deleting message after message. I smiled. Of course my voice sounded different. I was 28 now, not 18. I was about to pour out a decade of longing, trying to find the right words to make her understand the depth of what I felt. That this wasn't a joke, that my love for her had spanned not just 3 years, but 13. And then it hit me, a jolt of pure ice through my veins. A much more important question. Voice memo, Eleanor, I need to ask you something. It is the most important thing I will ever ask you. You have to answer me honestly. Do you understand? My own voice cracked on the last word. Eleanor Vance, what is it? Go ahead. She sounded scared by my intensity. Me, what is today's date? The full date and the time. Please, you have to tell me exactly. A minute passed. Then, Eleanor Vance. It's Thursday, April 30th, 2015. 10:26 p.m. I glanced at the top of my own phone. Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. 10:26 p.m. We were separated by exactly 10 years, our timelines moving in sync, which meant that tonight was the night her family was murdered. My head spun. She was in danger. Right now, that monster, Marcus Thorne, was about to break down her door, rob them, and then kill her and her parents. I frantically tried to start a FaceTime call, but it wouldn't connect. Was our link limited to just text and voice memos? The how didn't matter. I switched back to a voice memo, my voice desperate and rushed. Voice memo, Eleanor, you have to believe me. A wanted fugitive named Marcus Thorne is going to break into your house tonight. Your entire family is in danger. You need to call 911 right now and get out of the house. Now, Eleanor Vance, what are you talking about? She was completely lost, and I didn't blame her. I took a deep breath, forcing my mind to focus. I remembered the details from the case file. The time of death was around 3 a.m., but the killer had likely entered the house around 1:00 a.m. He tied them up, ransacked the place, and then killed them before he left. I was just a classmate. I never should have known these things. But after it happened, I'd been obsessed, hounding the police for information. When they found my name in her diary, the lead detective finally told me some of the horrific details. Me, I know this sounds insane. I feel like I'm in a dream myself. Me, but you have to believe me. I'm not the Ethan Reed from 2015. I'm from 10 years in the future, from 2025. And tonight, on this date, in 2015, you and your parents are murdered. I have spent the last 10 years unable to forget it. I don't know what God or force heard my prayers, but this connection is real. Please believe me. This is your only chance to survive. I try to keep my tone steady, praying the gravity in my voice would convince her. Eleanor Vance, I don't believe you. Eleanor Vance, this is too bizarre. Are you sure you didn't just wake up from a nightmare? Or is this some kind of sick joke? Do you have any idea how horrible it is to joke about someone's family dying? It's not funny. At all. A moment later, another text. Eleanor Vance, do you have any proof? Of course she didn't believe me. It was a perfectly rational response. But her life was on the line. I needed to find a way to make her trust me, completely and without question. Proof? How could I prove it? Then it hit me. The diary. I scrambled around my apartment, finally locating the worn, leather-bound book I had cherished for a decade. Me, you asked how I saw your diary, right? I didn't steal it. It was given to me by the police as one of your belongings after it happened. It's right here in my hands. You don't believe me? I'll read you a few entries. August 24th, Friday. Sunny. First day of freshman orientation. So exhausting. But the guest speaker from Marines was kind of cute. Heard some girls already tried to get his number. So shameless. The guys in our class are so immature. That Ethan Reed actually challenged a Marine to a push-up contest. He got assigned 100 as a punishment, but he actually did them all. He's surprisingly strong. Even the Marine was impressed. I hear he's really good at basketball, too. Some girls are already asking about him. Shameless. Totally shameless. September 5th, Wednesday. Sunny. There was a huge hurricane down south. The school organized a fundraiser and a blood drive. That Ethan Reed actually got a bunch of the guys to go donate blood with him. I have to admit, that was pretty cool. Maybe I'll bring him a yogurt tomorrow. I heard donating blood can make you feel weak, but he's so athletic he'll probably be fine. March 22nd, Friday. Overcast. Some of the guys from our class got into a fight with Northwood High today. I heard Ethan Reed was one of them. I hate it when guys fight. So why was I kind of worried when I heard he was involved? I hope he doesn't get suspended. If he does, maybe I can ask Dad to help. April 2nd, Tuesday. Rain. It was pouring today. I offered Ethan Reed my umbrella, and he refused. He'd rather get soaked than take my umbrella. Does he hate me that much? Boys are so weird and confusing. Good thing Kevin transferred here. Even though he's not in my class, at least I can ask him for a guy's perspective. May 13th, Monday. Sunny. I think I have a crush on that guy in my class, Ethan Reed. Every time I see him, I have to force myself to look away. When I watch him on the basketball court, my heart starts pounding. But I asked Kevin, and he said Ethan doesn't seem to like me. He said Ethan hates rich girls with a silver spoon in their mouth. Ugh. May 20th, Monday. Sunny. I was out shopping with Chloe yesterday, and these two thugs tried to mug us. They didn't just want our money, they were getting grabby. It was terrifying. I didn't know what to do, and then suddenly, Ethan Reed showed up like a superhero. He started fighting them. He looked so crazy and scary when he was fighting, but why did I feel so safe? After he saved us, I wanted to thank him properly, but he just walked away. Does he really hate me that much? June 13th, Thursday. Overcast. The weather is so humid today. It feels like it's about to storm, but never does. Oh, I found something out today. That fight Ethan got into before, it was because those guys were trying to shake down some of our classmates for money. I totally misjudged him. It turns out he's a really good guy with a strong sense of justice. Word guy crossed out, replaced with man. September 2nd, Monday. Sunny. Haven't seen Ethan all summer. I managed to get his number under the pretense of thanking him for saving me. But after that one text, he never messaged me again. Does he hate me that much? Why is he always avoiding me? And why can't I get his face out of my head? I'm so screwed. October 9th, November 1st, March 21st, April 30th, Thursday. Overcast. Finals are almost here. I can't think about Ethan Reed anymore. Nothing is more important than my applications. Kevin is out with God knows who at some internet cafe again tonight. He's so late. With his grades, he'll be lucky to get into community college. I can't be like him. I'm aiming for the Ivy League. Yale, Harvard. Let's go, Eleanor, you can do this. Stop thinking about Ethan Reed. He ignores you all the time. You have to be better, more amazing, so brilliant that he'll regret it. That'll show him. Voice memo. HHHH. Okay, stop reading. I believe you. I believe you're Ethan from the future. You're awful. You had to pick those entries to read? You're the worst. In another timeline, Eleanor Vance was rolling around on her bed, clutching her phone, face burning with embarrassment. Her deepest, most secret thoughts had just been read aloud. There was no room for doubt anymore. The last entry Ethan had read was the one she had just finished writing, the ink still faintly damp on the page. Unless he was psychic, there was no other explanation. The whole situation was too bizarre, too overwhelming for her 18-year-old mind to process. She felt like her brain was about to short-circuit. Me, now that you believe me, I need you to do exactly as I say. Call 911. Then wake up your parents and get them out of the house. Go as far away as you can. It's the only way to prevent what's about to happen. Eleanor Vance. Okay, I'll call. But, will they believe me? Even if I believe you, will the police and my parents listen? She was smart. She'd immediately seen the flaws in the plan. Would the police dispatch a unit in time for such a bizarre claim late at night? Would her parents just dismiss it as a stress-induced nightmare before finals? Would they really agree to flee their home in the middle of the night? I fell silent. She was right. It was almost 11 p.m. Even if the police took the call seriously, they might not treat it with the urgency it required. And convincing her parents with this story would be next to impossible. What could I do? The clock was ticking. I could feel the panic rising, imagining the killer already lurking somewhere on the Vance estate grounds. I had to think of something, some way for her to get help, or else telling her the future would be meaningless. Then an idea sparked. I knew someone who could help. Me. Eleanor, hold on. Don't call 911 yet. I know someone who can help you. Give me a few minutes. I was terrified to leave the chat window, scared the connection might break. I grabbed my spare phone and quickly dialed the number from my contacts. Hello. A steady, middle-aged voice answered. Detective Miller, it's Ethan Reed. I need your help, I said, trying to keep my own voice calm to stop him from dismissing me as a crank caller and hanging up. Ethan Reed, I remember you, Detective Miller said, his voice laced with recollection. The Vance family murders. You were the victims. Boyfriend. Miller had a sharp memory for his cases, especially the unsolved ones. After the murders, I had been relentless, constantly calling him for updates on the killer. The name had stuck. I took a deep breath. Detective, I made contact with Eleanor Vance from 10 years ago. I know how insane that sounds, but Marcus Thorne is about to break in her house. We have to help her. Please, you have to believe me. Miller's reply was what I expected. Ethan, are you having a nightmare? Or is the stress getting to you? Do you need me to call a doctor for you? I know some excellent psychiatrists. I'm not crazy, and this isn't a dream, I said slowly, deliberately. I need you to believe me, detective. I don't, he said flatly. As a veteran homicide detective, a man who lived by evidence and facts, he wasn't about to entertain this kind of fantasy. I took a deep breath. That's fine. I don't need you to believe me. I need the Detective Miller from 10 years ago to believe me. Tell me something, a code, a name, anything that would make your past self trust me 100%. I need to have Eleanor call you back then. There was a short silence on the line. Then, Miller's voice was low and heavy. Sarah Jensen. Tell Detective Miller not to let what happened to Sarah Jensen happen again. He hung up. I didn't have time to wonder who Sarah Jensen was. I immediately texted Eleanor with Detective Miller's number and the message he'd given me. It worked better than I could have imagined. After hearing the name Sarah Jensen, the younger Detective Miller didn't hesitate. He and a few officers were at the Vance estate within minutes. As Mr. and Mrs. Vance looked on in confusion, Miller explained the situation as best he could and had a sharp-looking female officer escort the family to a small motel not far from their home. I told Eleanor to keep her phone charged, to not let it die under any circumstances. I had no idea how long this impossible connection would last, and I couldn't rest until I knew she was completely safe. Eleanor Vance. Future Ethan, you still there? I think I'm safe now. We're with a police officer in a motel room. I have to say, having a cop around makes you feel incredibly secure. Me. Past Eleanor, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere tonight. Even across a decade of time, a strange, warm intimacy began to blossom between us. Eleanor Vance, so, did you really mean it? That you've liked me since the first day of freshman year? Me. Are you worried I just said that to get you to believe me? Let me be perfectly clear, Eleanor Vance. I fell for you the first moment I saw you. I had a massive crush on you for all 3 years of high school. And after you were gone, I've thought about you every single day for the last 10 years. I was a grown man now, long past the age of hiding my feelings. I had to lay it all out there. I didn't know what would happen after this, whether I was changing my own reality, creating a new timeline, or if this was all just an elaborate dream. Eleanor Vance, if you liked me in high school, why did you always avoid me? You'd ignore me when I tried to talk to you, and you threw away the birthday card and gift I gave you. Do you know how much that hurt? Me? Threw them away? What are you talking about? Even though I thought you were being nice to every classmate, I kept everything. The gift was a Parker pen, engraved with "for a bright and promising future." I still use it. I was completely baffled. Her words hinted at a deep misunderstanding I knew nothing about. Me. As for why I avoided you, honestly, I was intimidated. My grades were just okay. My family was middle class. You were Eleanor Vance. If it wasn't for your birthday party, I probably would have never set foot inside a house like yours in my entire life. Eleanor Vance, I don't see why you'd feel that way. You were a star on the basketball court, you know? And you were so popular. So many girls in our class had crushes on you, including me. She typed out the last part, then deleted it before hitting send. Me. Actually, there was a bigger reason. Me. For all 3 years of high school, I thought you had a boyfriend. Eleanor Vance. Me? A boyfriend? Exploding head. Me? Yeah, that transfer student you were always with. Eleanor Vance. You mean Kevin? He's my cousin. He's a distant relative, but his parents died in an accident when he was in middle school, so my dad took him in. He transferred to our school so we could look after him. Me, but I didn't know that. And he went around telling everyone he was your boyfriend. A lot of people knew. Eleanor Vance, what? Kevin told people he was my boyfriend? Me, you didn't know? I had always assumed Eleanor had asked him to pretend to be her boyfriend to ward off unwanted attention. I never imagined she was completely in the dark. Eleanor Vance. Of course I didn't know. What was he thinking? Wait, does that mean all that stuff he told me about you was made up too? Once the seed of doubt was planted, all the little details started clicking into place. She realized it was always Kevin who told her that Ethan hated her, that he'd thrown her gifts away. Because he was family, she'd never once questioned him. What if it was all a lie? As she was trying to process this, another message popped up on her phone. It was from a contact named Kevin. She immediately fired off a series of texts. Kevin, where have you been tonight? Mom and Dad have been calling you. You're not picking up or texting back. Do you know the house is in danger? Whatever you do not go back there. You hear me? Where are we? We're at the Crestview Motel near our house. Room 203. Why? It's too complicated to explain. Just get over here now. I have some things I need to ask you. Eleanor Vance. Ethan, I just got a hold of Kevin. He's coming over. I'm going to ask him why he was lying about being my boyfriend at school. Me. Eleanor, I don't know why, but I still have a bad feeling. Can you check with Detective Miller and see if they've caught the intruder yet? Eleanor Vance. Okay, I'll ask him now. By now, she trusted me completely. She immediately called Detective Miller. We just picked up a guy lurking outside the Vance property, Miller told her. He had lockpicking tools and a weapon on him. My colleagues have him in custody. I'm heading out to check on the situation myself. Miller was thorough. He'd left officers guarding the perimeter while he and 2 others stayed inside the house. Stay put tonight, don't go out. Be cautious. We'll sort everything out in the morning. Eleanor Vance. Detective Miller said they caught him. A massive wave of relief washed over me. I checked the time. It was almost 3:00 a.m. It seemed my Eleanor, in her timeline, was finally out of danger. I had actually done it. I had saved her. Ring, ring, ring. My other phone buzzed. It was Detective Miller. An inexplicable knot of dread tightened in my stomach. Hey, Ethan, he said. I thought about it. And there are a few things you should know. Based on some leads I followed up on later, I suspect Marcus Thorne had an accomplice that night. And about Eleanor's cousin, Kevin. He disappeared right after the murders, didn't he? I found out that in the weeks before the incident, he'd been hanging out with some rough characters, and apparently, he owed a lot of money. I've always suspected that Marcus Thorne's presence at the Vance estate was connected to Kevin. My world tilted on its axis. The murders were connected to Kevin. He led the killer to the house. And Eleanor had just told him where they were hiding. And Thorne had an accomplice. A cold horror washed over me. I yelled into the phone, Detective, why didn't you ever tell me this? This is critical. You don't understand. You might have just gotten them all killed. They were unconfirmed leads, purely my own speculation with no hard evidence. Miller's voice was gravelly. I couldn't share that with non-personnel. It was clear this case had haunted him, too. I hung up, not wasting another second. I grabbed my phone and started spamming Eleanor's chat. Me. Thorne had an accomplice. Your cousin Kevin might be in on IT. Do not let him in the room. Me. Eleanor, can you see this? Don't open the door. Call Detective Miller right now. Me. Eleanor me. Eleanor me. Eleanor. My messages went unanswered, disappearing into a void. My heart turned to ice. A suffocating feeling closed in around me. What else could I do? Did the universe connect us just to let me watch her die a second time? To make me feel the loss all over again? No, that couldn't be it. There had to be another way. A final, desperate chance to save her. I watched the seconds tick by on my phone, my mind racing, sorting through a maelstrom of chaotic thoughts. Staring at the silent chat window, an idea, a wild, desperate long shot, flashed in my mind. I picked up my phone and dialed a familiar number. My own. Ring, ring. Ring, ring. Who the hell is this? It's the middle of the night. Are you insane? Hearing my own younger, grumpier voice, a wry smile touched my lips. Don't worry about who I am, I said, my voice low and urgent. Eleanor Vance is in danger. She's at the Crestview Motel on Mountain View Road. Go now. If you're not fast enough, the only thing you'll see is her body. Click. He hung up. I knew my younger self. He wouldn't waste time questioning the call or trying to verify it. The moment he heard Eleanor's name, he'd move. He'd run faster than he ever had in his life. Go, I thought, a silent prayer sent across time. Go be the hero for us both. Save our girl. All I could do now was wait. I had to believe that this cosmic intersection wasn't destined to end in tragedy. My younger self had a chance to fix everything. He just had to make it in time. Meanwhile, in another timeline, once Eleanor heard the intruder had been caught, she finally allowed herself to relax. The whole conversation with the future Ethan still felt surreal, like a dream. But if it weren't for his messages, she and her family would be. The thought was too terrifying. Then she started wondering about the Ethan from the future. What had he been through? What was his life like? Based on his connection with Detective Miller, she guessed that after her death, he must have been relentless, hounding the police for answers, trying to find her killer. That was probably why they gave him her diary. Thinking of the diary brought a fresh wave of heat to her cheeks. For her secret crush to see all her most private thoughts. It was mortifying. And what had his last 10 years been like? He'd be 28 now. Where did he go to college? Did he have a girlfriend? Was he married? The curiosity was unbearable, even though she knew that his future, a future without her in it, had nothing to do with her. Still, she had to ask. She had just started typing when a sharp knock echoed through the motel room. Ellie? Mom, Dad? It's me. Open up. It was Kevin's voice. Eleanor started to get up, but the female officer staying with them, Officer Davis, stopped her. Is that your cousin? Yes, it's Kevin, Eleanor replied. How'd he find you here? Officer Davis asked, moving to the door and peering through the peephole. All she could see was a pale, thin young man who looked like he hadn't slept in days. I told him, Eleanor explained. He was out somewhere, and I told him to meet us here. Officer Davis nodded, seeing no immediate threat, and unlocked the door. The moment it opened, a tall, burly figure who had been hiding in the adjacent alcove lunged forward. A knife flashed, and he drove it deep into Officer Davis's abdomen. Eleanor screamed, Officer Davis! Nobody moves. Nobody makes a sound if you want to live, the man snarled. It was Marcus Thorne. He'd stabbed the officer and, in one swift motion, snatched the gun from her holster. The weapon in his hand, combined with the pure malice in his eyes, was terrifyingly effective. Eleanor rushed to the fallen officer, trying desperately to staunch the bleeding, her hands trembling with fear. Tie them up, Thorne ordered Kevin. Kevin, his face a mask of numb obedience, ignored the complex mix of hatred and betrayal in his adoptive family's eyes. He grabbed the rope he'd brought and began to bind Mr. and Mrs. Vance, and then Eleanor. Ignoring the unconscious officer bleeding out on the floor, Thorne looked at his captives with a cruel smirk. Don't worry, you cooperate, and all I want is money. He knew his original plan was shot. There was no fortune to be had in this cheap motel room. Now, all he wanted was to torment them, to feel the power of life and death in his hands before he finished the job. Don't you want to know how we found out you were coming for us tonight? Eleanor's voice was shaking, but she forced herself to speak. Her mind was racing. This wasn't about robbery anymore. Thorne was here for revenge. She had to stall, to buy time for Detective Miller to realize something was wrong. His talk about money was just a lie to keep them docile. Her question hit its mark. Thorne was baffled as to how his meticulous plan had unraveled. He'd targeted the Van Cess for months, using the wayward, gambling-addicted Kevin as his inside man. The plan had been simple. He and his partner would hit the house, kill the family, and disappear. But his partner had been nabbed by cops who seemed to be waiting for him. It couldn't have been Kevin who betrayed him. Thorne had too much dirt on the kid. He held all the cards. After his partner was caught, Thorne had grabbed Kevin's phone, posed as him, and coaxed Eleanor into revealing their location. He was determined to finish what he started. He stepped closer to Eleanor, crouching down and tracing the edge of his knife along her neck. She could feel the cold steel against her skin, unsure if it had already broken the surface. It's on my phone, she said, her voice barely a whisper. Unlock my phone, and you'll see. Someone told me. Thorne motioned for Kevin to grab her phone. The screen showed the time, 2:58 a.m. He saw it was locked with a passcode. He glanced at Eleanor, but instead of forcing her to unlock it, a wicked grin spread across his face. You know what? I am curious, but time's running out. I think I'll just kill you all first and read it later. He raised a knife. Crash! The motel room door splintered inwards, kicked off its hinges. Before anyone could react, a figure blurred past them, tackling Thorne to the ground. It was Ethan. He slammed the killer onto the floor, the knife and gun skittering away in opposite directions. The two men were a tangle of limbs, grappling on the cheap carpet. Years of staying in shape gave Ethan a fighting chance, and fueled by adrenaline and desperation, he held his own, landing punch after punch. Kevin, untie us! Eleanor screamed. Kevin, what are you waiting for? Help me! Thorne roared. Kevin stood frozen, caught between them, his face a mess of conflict and fear. You think you have a choice, you little punk? Thorne spat, blood streaming from his nose. You're already an accessory to murder. Help me now, or we're both going down when the cops get here. That snapped him out of it. Kevin rushed forward and started hitting Ethan, but his weak punches barely registered. Ethan ignored him, focusing all his energy on Thorne's face. The gun, you idiot! Grab the gun and shoot him! Thorne bellowed. Kevin scrambled for the fallen pistol. He fumbled with it, his hands shaking too badly to figure out the safety. He aimed it at Ethan, trying to pull the trigger, but nothing happened. Bang! But the shot didn't come from Kevin's gun. The door, already broken, swung open to reveal Detective Miller, his own weapon drawn. The bullet hit Kevin in the shoulder, and he collapsed to the ground, screaming. Another officer immediately tended to the wounded Officer Davis while Miller and his team swarmed in, helping Ethan subdue and cuff the struggling Marcus Thorne. Even with his face battered and bloody, Thorne glared at them with defiant hatred. But he knew. It was over. In the future, I was still staring at my phone, the time now ticking past 3:00 a.m. According to the coroner's report, that was when they had died. Had I failed? Had I changed nothing? Then, a notification lit up the screen. Eleanor Vance. Future Ethan? You still there? I'm safe. We're all safe. You saved us. You saved my entire family. We're alive. Thank you. Thank you. My body went limp, and I slid down the wall to the floor. My fingers trembled as I typed a reply. Me, you're alive. That's all that matters. Suddenly, a wave of vertigo washed over me. The room began to swim, the edges blurring. New memories, things that had never happened, started forcing their way into my mind. I knew what was happening, but before I could fully process it, everything went black. It felt like I was waking from a long dream. A 10-year-long dream filled with a deep, gnawing regret and a relentless search. But what was I regretting? What was I searching for? A single, blurry figure haunted the edges of the dream, a face I knew I couldn't forget. She was the girl I never got over, the one I'd loved in silence for 3 years and mourned for more than a decade. If only I'd told her sooner. If only I'd realized the danger she was in. If I'd just gotten there in time. It was the first day of freshman year. All eyes were on the front of the classroom as a girl walked to the blackboard. She stood on her toes, as if trying not to disturb the dust motes hanging in the air. She turned, clutching the hem of her denim jacket, and wrote her name in neat, careful strokes. Eleanor Vance. "Hi, I'm Eleanor Vance," she'd said, her smile so bright it felt like it could melt the nervous tension in the room. "I'm really happy to be in your class. Let's have a great 3 years together." Her eyes seemed to sparkle, and in that instant, she had captured my heart completely. A gentle, melodic ringtone pulled me from the depths of sleep. It was a soft indie pop song, one that felt both familiar and brand new. You're better than you know. You give and never ask for anything back. Loving someone means wanting the best for them. Deep down, you're more important to me than I am. Honey? Honey, what's wrong? I slowly opened my eyes. Lying next to me, propped up on one elbow, was the most beautiful woman I had ever seen. Her face was etched with concern, her eyes full of worry. She looked more mature, but there was no mistaking her. "Honey, you were crying in your sleep." I instinctively reached up and touched my cheek. It was wet. I had been weeping. Without a word, I pulled her into a fierce embrace, holding her as tightly as I could, terrified that if I let go, she would vanish. If this was a dream, I never wanted to wake up. Bonus chapter, from Crush to Forever My Name is Ethan Reed, and I've been in love with Eleanor Vance since the first day of high school. But she was a Vance, living in a mansion, always at the top of our class. I was just me, so I kept it to myself, vowing to work hard enough to one day be worthy of her. The day after I donated blood, she brought me a yogurt. My heart nearly beat out of my chest. Did she like me too? Should I tell her? Then Kevin showed up. He shattered that fantasy. Eleanor had a boyfriend. They were always together, him leaning over her shoulder while she helped him with his homework. Every time I saw them, it was like a needle to the heart. I resigned myself to loving her from afar. Just watching her shine was enough, I told myself. But who was I kidding? The crush didn't fade. It deepened, embedding itself in my soul. To stop myself from doing something stupid and embarrassing her, I started avoiding her. Then I noticed Kevin hanging out with a bad crowd, skipping school, getting into trouble. He didn't deserve her. What did she even see in him? Did she like the skinny, bad boy type? Was it too late for me to change my image? It got worse. I heard he was gambling. This guy was human garbage. If Eleanor stayed with him, he would ruin her life. I had to do something. I had to expose him for who he was, even if it meant she would hate me forever. I couldn't let her fall into that trap. With finals approaching, I noticed she was distancing herself from him, focusing on her studies. I decided to wait. I started gathering proof of his misdeeds. My plan was to wait until after graduation, ask her to meet, tell her everything about Kevin, and then finally confess my own feelings. Even if she rejected me, it would be a fitting end to 3 years of silent pining. But one night, a mysterious phone call changed everything. The voice on the other end said Eleanor was in danger, that if I didn't hurry, I'd find her dead. I thought it had to be a prank, but I couldn't take that chance. I couldn't bet her life on it. The call was real. I got to the motel and listened at the door. When I heard the kidnapper say he was about to kill them, I broke it down and charged in. I beat the hell out of that guy. I couldn't believe Kevin was his accomplice. Well, at least now, I wouldn't have to worry about Eleanor liking him anymore. As I kept punching the kidnapper, Kevin grabbed a gun and pointed it at me. I was terrified. If I died, what would happen to Eleanor? I fought harder, trying to disarm the kidnapper, but he was strong. Then, like in a movie, the police burst in. They shot Kevin and helped me take down the other guy. And that's when I found out the truth. Kevin was never her boyfriend. He was her cousin, and he'd been lying the whole time. His home life had been a nightmare. A gambling mother, an abusive, alcoholic father who eventually killed his wife, and then himself in a drunken rage. Mr. Vance had taken him in out of pity, but Kevin was consumed by jealousy and entitlement. He wanted to be the heir, And when he realized that wasn't going to happen, he conspired with criminals to kill them all, thinking he would inherit everything. Instead, he got 10 years for conspiracy to commit murder, on top of a laundry list of other charges. Marcus Thorne, already wanted for multiple homicides, got the death penalty. And then, the most unbelievable thing in the world happened. Eleanor confessed to me. My Eleanor confessed that she had feelings for me. It was like a scene out of a movie I would never have dared to dream up. I thought maybe she was just grateful, but she told me she'd liked me for years, that she was done with misunderstandings and waiting. She wanted to be with me. It still felt like a dream, but she was serious. She made me promise that we wouldn't let our relationship affect our grades. She told me I had to get into a college in the same city as her, or she'd dump me. I never studied so hard in my life. And it worked. She got into an Ivy League school, a true academic superstar. I got into a good state university in the same city. It wasn't Yale, but I was with her. I was the happiest guy on the planet. In college, she proudly introduced me as her boyfriend to everyone, making me the public enemy of every guy on her campus. We did everything together: dates, movies, late-night talks, amusement parks. She was everything I could have ever wanted in a partner and more. I worked hard, trying to keep up with her, but she was in a league of her own. Before she even graduated, she started getting involved in her family's business. She had an almost supernatural ability to read the market, and under her guidance, the Vance family fortune exploded, turning them from merely wealthy into a genuine financial dynasty. After graduation, she insisted we get married right away. The wedding was spectacular, with drone light shows and fireworks that people talked about for years. Sometimes I felt like our roles had been reversed. She became the powerhouse, the CEO, the multi-billionaire titan of industry. I started to feel the pressure. Sometimes late at night, I'd see her secretly texting someone, and my mind would spiral into dark places. But she would just smile, kiss my forehead, and tell me not to worry, that she only loved me and always would. "You'll understand everything someday," she'd say. Of course, I didn't just become a house husband. Even though Eleanor's fortune could have supported 100 of me, I wanted my own path. Detective Miller, who I'd stayed in touch with after the incident, thought I had a knack for investigation and suggested I go to the police academy. But Eleanor, still protective of me, vetoed that idea immediately. Instead, I studied journalism. It was a great career, letting me travel and see the world. It was only later that I found out Eleanor had bought the media company I worked for the day before my final interview. No wonder my assignments always seemed to overlap with her business trips, and many of my stories were related to Vance Industries. It seems I was never going to escape her orbit. Not that I ever wanted to. Being able to watch over the woman I love, to be there to protect her if she ever needed me again. There is no greater happiness in the world. Please, just let us stay this happy forever.